Hey guys, it's Laptop Laura, and this is Copy That Pops. Writing tips and psychology hacks applied to online biz success.
Here we go.
Welcome officially to the show.
Excited.
First little mini interview type copy consultation I haven't done in a long time because I've been so in my little new mom world.
Well, good. I need it. So I'm glad to be your first one back.
For sure. Okay. So just pretend like you just met me. Okay. Tell me what you do that you want to focus on today and who is it for?
Okay. So it's for, I wanted to say my podcast, but it's actually for my business in general. So I want to focus on my podcast is about using my mental health struggle or my diagnosis with bipolar to encourage women to be more than they are. I want to have an inspiring, my whole premise of who I am is to inspire people to not accept the status quo. And doing so through motivational speaking and through my own story. So that's what I need help with today. I have ways of saying things in my head, but it doesn't sound like it's coming from me. And that's probably from my personal development training, from all the other training using everybody else's words.
Yeah, I know.
To explain what I'm thinking.
So what is the business called? Or is it just under your name, like personal brand?
It's That Mental Shit is the podcast, but the brand is me. I am my brand.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So what do you want to work on? Like a tagline, your bio? Where can we start?
Like I would say, I guess the bio I can do, but it's the tagline, right? So I had a podcaster. I was talking to other podcasters and she said, "What's your podcast about?" And I'm like, I don't have the one-liner to be like, and then when we were when I was at a coffee morning with some friends and what's your podcast about? And I'm like, I don't have a way of just in like one sentence to apply everything. Well, I use my bipolar to and that's just way too long. And I need to figure out a way to say it for a tagline for a website, for my speaker profile, that kind of thing.
So you want to start with what's your podcast about? Just like warm up and then we could.
Yeah, that works because honestly, what my podcast is about is what I'm about. Like that's my whole brand is going to be this. It's just an extension. So yeah, let's start with that.
Okay. And I'm going to share my screen too. So if anyone is listening to this just on the podcast, you can also find it as a video on YouTube or embedded in the show notes for this podcast episode. Because sometimes visual can be extra helpful. So one little activity that I love to do with people is, can we describe what you do in literally 10 words or fewer?
Okay.
So it can be a challenge and it might take a couple rounds, but if you only had 10 words, what would you say?
That's a big question.
So maybe I help women.
I want to say inspire or motivate or something along those terms, maybe.
Okay.
But I women to live their, I don't know if this can be in 10 words, to inspire women to challenge.
What about to get past that mental shit?
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, I know that uses the podcast name in it, but I feel like people would understand that phrase because everyone's like, oh yeah, mentally that I've gotten in my own way kind of thing.
I like that. So to inspire women to get past that mental shit so they can live authentic, fulfilled lives is kind of, I just want women to understand their circumstances it's ever changing, that you can change your circumstance with just your mind and that you don't have to accept where you're at. So I don't know how to say that in a way that captivates.
Achieve anything they desire.
Yeah.
Achieve any goal.
Honestly, it's not about the motivation for me of goals, or it's just
that's what I was going to ask. Is like
accepting who they are. And once they can do that, yes, they can go on to achieve anything they want. But it's the building of the self-confidence and realizing that your disadvantages are actually your advantage. And like flaws aren't flaws. It's just how you reframe things. So almost and get past that mental shit and cultivate a life they want, or
the life they deserve.
Yeah, I like that.
Because I feel like, and this is just talking from my own personal mental shit journey, is like, and I think that this maybe happens a lot for women in general, is that we tend to hold ourselves back and not really go for the big stretch, maybe because of confidence, or like, oh, well, I need to take care of everybody else, so there's no time for me. And maybe that behavior is only because of the lack of confidence. And so you just busy yourself taking care of everyone else instead of really working on what you want, so that you can be like, oh, well, I have this reason why I didn't, kind of thing.
Right. No, I agree. Because it's honestly, when I was doing about confidence, there's so many stems from that, right? Confidence is just some umbrella term that we use for limiting beliefs, for self-care, for, those kind of things. So I kind of like the way we've said that, because it's up to them. Success is different for everybody. Success could be having a whole bunch of children.
Right. For sure. All right. So just for this sentence, not that this is perfect or where we would stop. Do you feel more drawn to inspire or motivate?
Inspire. I don't know. I motivate and I don't know. It's
you inspire, motivate, and empower. I mean,
well,
it could be more.
Because I feel like I'm using my own story and not necessarily motivational scientific things. I'm using my experiences, which I feel like is inspiring.
Right. Versus like educate or teach.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes motivate, I think of Eric Thomas when I think of motivating, the yelling and that's kind of the way I do that as well. But I want to inspire people with my story. So I feel like that is a proper term.
All right. So let's see. I inspire women to get past, how about their mental shit, and cultivate the life they deserve.
Yeah. I don't know, to get past their mental shit, to work through instead of ignoring. I like work through because you can't ignore it if you want to get to the end point.
I inspire women to embrace and work through their mental shit. Because it's not like you said, accept too.
Yep.
I inspire women to embrace and work through their mental shit to cultivate the life they deserve. Yeah. Yep. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So not 10 words, but still like succinct. And
I like that. That sounds.
Yeah. So could you imagine like at a party, be like, oh, what do you do? Like, what's your podcast about? You're like, well, I inspire women to embrace and work through their mental shit to cultivate the life they deserve.
Yeah, that sounds better. That sounds more like me.
Cool. Yeah. And I would be intrigued by that. I'd be like, oh, damn, tell me more. And you could be like, well, I went through and am going through challenges, obstacles, opportunities, whatever, just like everyone. Specifically, I was diagnosed with bipolar, and I share very openly about that to help people see they're not alone. And no matter what, you can work through whatever you've got going on and fully own the life you want.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Because that's kind of the why, and then the how is breaking down by working through disadvantage. No, I like that. That's a good.
I don't know what.
See, this is why I needed, because the things are in my head, but I need somebody to give me feedback.
I'm happy to. I'm like, a writing nerd, as you're
Well,
coming to know.
I know. I love it. That's perfect.
Cool.
All right. Okay.
All right, what else? Do you want to talk about, the how and write like maybe a couple bullet points or something about the how?
Yeah. Yeah. I was working through that this morning. So it'd be great to get some input on.
Yeah. What do you have so far?
So the how am I going to do this? I was reading the Find Your Why from Simon Sinek and was working through his processes and having some simple. So I want hows ask questions. And the reason I say that is because people need to not accept the first answer. I was not supposed to be successful because of bipolar, said my doctors in society. Well, why not?
Right.
People need to continue. Well, society says I can't. Okay, well, why not? I don't know if ask questions would be the right term to describe that, but
Or like dig deeper.
Yeah.
Or like don't accept the first answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you have it so far? Or like, how would you put it?
I literally just have ask questions and then another bullet point that says, if society tells us something, we ask why.
Oh yeah. Oh, what about like embrace your inner 5-year-old? Why?
Oh my God. I love that. That's genius. That's so me too. I love that.
Because I mean, little kids are just like, Mommy, why is the sky blue? And you're like, oh, because it's reflecting off the ocean, I think.
Yes.
Why?
Curiosity.
I don't even know if that's true. I need to look that up.
You're right.
But yeah, they're just always why? Like, why do we not do that as adults? We just accept the first thing that is said and we're like, oh, well, I don't want to push. I don't want to be seen as socially, what's the word?
Well, Elon Musk says that we have become a culture that does that because of school.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to ask, well, why? Well, no, that's just the fact.
Right.
And so our brains have been wired to be like, well, that must be. But now in 2022, we're seeing people aren't just taking face value anymore. So I like the embrace your inner 5-year-old.
I love that.
And like your curiosity. I like that.
Yeah. It's like, be curious, ask why, deeper and deeper.
Dig deeper. Yeah.
I'm trying to keep digging deeper and don't accept. Like, I listened to this podcast. What was it? I'm like always listening to like Tim Ferriss and Gary Vee. And I think on some Tim Ferriss ones recently, there was a really cool economist. Yeah, that's the one I just heard recently. I forget his name, John something. But he was talking about how there are so many best practices. Like if you ask business people, why do you do something this way, or financial, whatever, they're like, oh, well, that's how my mentor taught me, or that's just how it's done. But it's not actually based on research or data or facts or a real experiment. And so that's what he loves to do, is like actually put things to the test and analyze the data to see, is there a better way, versus just that's the way we've always done it. So it's kind of like, it's same with our lives. Like just because a doctor you may have seen has not seen a patient of theirs with your similar condition reach XYZ goal doesn't mean it's impossible. It's just they haven't seen it in their limited data set.
So don't accept the status quo. You can't.
And maybe think like a scientist too. I don't know if that's too.
I don't think like a scientist.
Okay.
I literally just love proving people wrong. So when they tell me I can't be something, I do whatever I can to be that something. That's
okay. Well, who's like, I'm trying to think of how to put that into a phrase too, is like take joy in proving the haters wrong, or like the naysayers wrong, Like don't take it as a discouragement, take it as a motivator or a new challenge.
Yeah. I don't know how to say that. And
be like Tom Brady. I'm just kidding. Or Michael Jordan. I'm trying to think of like big sports people who like didn't do well at first and then they just
Michael
blossomed.
Jordan. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with his story and his
Yeah.
Netflix documentary
I know.
where they
So
told him
good.
he couldn't be something, so he became something.
Mhm.
And that's
Be like Mike. Like that could
There
be
you go.
like a little
yeah.
intro to something and be like, let's talk about why. Have you seen that documentary? If you
Mhm.
haven't, doesn't matter. But like he was cut from his high school team or whatever, I forget. And he played for North Carolina and he just like tried out as like a walk-on
Yeah.
in North Carolina or something.
And that kind of goes into like the next. I feel like there's a theme to all of these, and I'm not sure if that's good. I had challenge feelings and thoughts, never taking a feeling or a thought as truth or at face value. But I feel like that's kind of the same as
Wait, say that again.
I said, challenge feelings and thoughts, never taking a feeling or thought as truth or at face value, like finding the meaning behind everything that happens in ourselves. Because thoughts are not factual.
Yeah, I like that. Or like feelings aren't facts.
It's 100% true.
And they're not forever.
I like that as well.
I love alliteration. So we've got all the F's. Yeah, because like we humans, whatever condition we're in, it feels like that's the condition that's going to be there for forever. So like feeling amazing, you're like, I'm never going to be bad again. And then you're like crash and feel horrible. And you're like, I'm never going to feel good again. But you have to just remember, okay, how I'm feeling right this second is not permanent. And it's not necessarily a fact. I can change it or I can adjust it.
And that is literally the essence of my being, because my bipolar tells me things all the time and they're not. And I've had to spend years taking apart my brain. I'm in constant challenge with my thoughts because my brain is wired to work against me at all times. And so I have to challenge everything I'm thinking to be able to do what I do. And so I feel feelings aren't fact and they're not forever. It's true. Oh, there you go.
I forgot to write facts.
And then the last how that I had written down is share everything. Because I'm trying to be a stigma disruptor. The more all of us share about our thoughts and our feelings and what's going on inside, I'm convinced the people who judge, if we actually share our true authentic selves with people and the feelings that are happening when they're happening, like before the podcast, I was going to text you and be like, by the way, I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm scared shitless, which is funny because I'm just talking to you about my brain. But you will then be more empathetic to me than during this. So I'm convinced that people who aren't empaths, when people share their true selves, it's got to trigger something of an empathic. And so if we all can just do that, if we could all just share everything, then no one would be judged because we aren't pretending. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking like, I love alliteration again, like shame comes from shadows, but I don't know if
that's so funny you say that. I have a phrase that I use all the time. It just came to me one day when I was helping somebody through some life coaching, and those with the brightest lights have the darkest shadows.
Ooh, interesting.
Just because more of the concept of working through the shadows to get to the light. And most of the time, people who shine the brightest have had to work the hardest.
Or they're like pretending.
That too.
I know.
Yeah.
And maybe it's my pessimism coming out, but I definitely, my whole life, I've always been a little suspicious of people who are just always happy all the time. And it's not that it can't be that way, because some people really, I mean, it's all chemicals and some people just naturally have more or less of different things. But I'm always kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, okay.
But see, if we shared then as a culture, if we learned to share more and openly talk about things, we would have less judgment waiting for somebody to fail because we understand what they've gone through to go. But you don't know because they just show highlight reels on Instagram. The most response I ever get anytime is when I show myself feeling and being normal and not being someone who knows it all.
Yeah.
And that I think comes with less judgment towards me because I'm showing you everything. There's nothing to judge because I'm.
Well, it's like the 8 Mile movie too, where Gary V talks about it a lot too, where he's like, at the very end, Eminem just basically throws all of his dirt out in his rap. So then
you can use nothing against.
Yeah. So then the opponent has nothing to say because he's like, I already owned it all.
It's so true though, because I tell people all the time, I've learned I would rather tell you about me 100% truth for you to not want to be around me for who I am, because I can't change who I am.
Right.
And we can agree that we're not, but I'd rather, if I'm faking who I am and pretending to be someone and you're judging me off all these bad things for something that's actually not me, or if I share with you who I am, there's nothing you can do because I've already accepted everything that I am.
Right.
And I've worked through it. So that's why people's judgment doesn't bother me.
And not every single person is supposed to get along equally well with every other person. It's just preferences. Like, it's just not possible. Right. So don't try to make everyone love you. That just is an impossible task.
Yep, exactly. So I like the share everything. Shame comes from shadows. I'm not sure I like the shame comes from shadows.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like.
Or like, I guess what I was trying to say is like, if you're hiding stuff, then you feel shame. Or like,
I'm saying more like share
fear.
Everything. Like openness leads to empathy kind of concept. Where my whole point as well is I don't want people need to not feel alone. We lose too many people to suicide because they feel like they're alone, that nobody gets it.
Yeah. And
I had to deal with my bipolar alone for years because no one understands me. No one understands you. If you're bipolar, only bipolar people will understand.
Yeah.
I didn't have somebody like me who I could listen to and relate to and no one could let me know, like, you're not crazy. We all go through this, blah, blah. And that's what I want people to feel, that they don't have to suffer by themselves, that people get it. And also to inspire them, to show them that there is light at the end of this tunnel you're in. So that's kind of where I'm going with the share everything. There you go. Yeah. There's light at the end of the struggle you are in now.
So tell me then about those with the brightest lights have the darkest shadows, or should I put that in a different spot? Tell me.
I don't think we even need to put that in. It's just something I say.
Well, I mean, I could even use it as like an example if that's like, because I kind of started making little sub topics, if that feels like it makes sense in that category as like an example topic or something.
That does.
Here, I'm going to change these numbers and then maybe I'll just read them out loud for people who might be listening to this just as audio. So number 1, we have embrace your inner 5-year-old. And then as an example, be curious, ask why, to keep digging deeper, and don't accept the status quo. Number 2, be like Mike, which is the Michael Jordan story. Work hard to overcome no, and like prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Number 3, feelings aren't facts and they're not forever. So there is light at the end of this struggle that you're in now. And then also you said something like really examine and question the feelings,
your brain
and thoughts,
your mind. Yeah.
Because they're not always based in reality, which doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means you're human. Like, that's totally normal.
Called confirmation bias.
Oh yeah.
Your world
all the time.
Yep.
Number 4.
You want a red car? Guess what you're going to see on the red cars. Like it's crazy to think about, but it is.
And then number 4, share everything. Openness leads to empathy. And then I've got those with the brightest lights have the darkest shadows, if that helps you explain that. And then the 8 Mile rap at the end of the movie.
Yes. I may or may not be able to rap that. No.
I know. Oh my gosh, you should memorize it. Just kidding.
I mean, honestly.
And then number 5, you're not alone. And Yeah, we definitely all tend to think like we're the only ones who have ever felt this in the history of the planet, but it's not true.
I have a big, like a lot of what I do is based in advantages and disadvantages. And I feel like this should be somewhere on this, but I don't know.
Right. Let's see. Well, yeah, I liked that one. What'd you say? Like your flaws are
your fire.
Actually, your fire. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. I always say feel your feelings, but let them fuel your fire. And
oh, wait, say that again.
Feel your feelings, but then use them to fuel your fire.
Gotcha. Feel your feelings, but don't let them fuel.
No, let them fuel your fire.
But okay.
Feel your feelings. Don't sit in your shit and then use those feelings, almost like repurposing them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I feel alone, or I guess where it comes from is if you were to list my strength and my weaknesses, people from the outside world would probably put bipolar as my number one weakness. But in the life I'm living, it's my number one strength. Everything is encompassed around in my life being bipolar. And I'm using it in a way to strengthen the world, right? So is it a weakness? Or is weakness a perception? Like flaws are perception, your imperfections. Who said that one day somebody was like, this is an imperfection. And the world was like, okay, we'll hate everybody that's got this then. So then you were raised to think something was a weakness. In fact, it's David and Goliath, right? David was so small and he wasn't supposed to beat Goliath, but he used what everyone thought was a weakness to slay the giant.
That's a good example.
I'm reading a book right now called David and Goliath.
Oh, I love Malcolm Gladwell.
It's about your disadvantages and your, perceived disadvantages and how advantages, it's all perception. And so my goal is to try and change the perception that you can be a victim or a victor. You can use it as an excuse or fucking do something about it.
I like that. So yeah, it's all perception. You can be the victim or the victor. It's your choice. Yeah. And I mean, I guess that also reminds me of kind of like, you are in control. Like the world isn't just happening to you. Like you have the power to
everything starts in your mind. If you're in your room right now and look around at everything you have in your room, it all started in somebody's mind before it was invented. So it's a crazy thought. I don't know why people don't accept the fact that you can make a choice. All you have to do is decide to be or not to be something. I would consider myself a quitter my entire life. I just assumed I would quit everything because that's who I was. And I will never forget the day I was on bed rest and I was sitting on the bed and I was doing a training for something else. And I was like, what if I just don't? What if I don't? And then would I not be? What if I just decide I'm no longer a quitter? And I've never quit anything I've ever started ever since. I literally changed the narrative with one decision. I changed the entire trajectory of my life with one decision. And I think people don't like that. They want to make excuses on why they can't do something. Yes. They don't like the fact that all it takes is one choice because that's too easy. It's too simple.
And too scary because then if
you
fail, it's on you.
Yeah.
Because you did.
You want to make 100 decisions on what's going to hold us back when in actuality, your circumstances are, you put yourself in them and you can take yourself out of them.
So I just wrote just off the top of my head, it's scary that you, or maybe scary to think that you have the control to change your life, but it's true. Yeah. Have you ever seen The Secret, like that movie? Oh, really? It's like about manifesting, like some people really criticize it because they're like, okay, I'm going to manifest being a millionaire and I'm just going to sit here in my room. Like, no. it's about taking action too, but it's kind of like what you said. It starts in your mind. It starts with a belief. It starts with a decision. And then you start moving in the right direction. And like the red car, you start noticing opportunities. You start meeting people and asking certain questions that leads to the next. So it's about intention and moving forward with it.
Jim Carrey is a perfect example of manifesting his destiny, right? He wrote himself a check for $2 million when he had absolutely nothing and was like living out of his car, and dated it for Thanksgiving Day, like 2 years later. And on Thanksgiving Day, he found out he made $2 million from Dumb and Dumber. Literally, but he did the work, but he manifested it. And yes, if I decide not to be a quitter, I don't just all of a sudden not quit anything anymore. You have to take the action steps to become that person. But if I think, you know what, I'm going to be the world's best motivational speaker up on stage. No, I'm not that today. But if I act like it now, I'm going to bring that future to me easier than sitting on my ass and just accepting mediocrity.
Yeah. Or just like waiting around for someone to notice you and put you on stage. Like, no, you have to take the action. Like, go speak for free, go start your own podcast, go do Facebook Lives, go do stuff and get it out there, because that's going to give you practice and attract the people that can help you make the next step.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, well, just to share a personal example that just jumped in my head. I used to be terrified of speaking on stage. Like, I used to go to conferences because I'm like a big conference junkie. I would go to conferences, and as like a new speaker was coming on stage, I physically felt ill for them, like empathetically for them, thinking, I will never do that. I can't believe they're doing that. Are they insane? And I think it was in 2018, which is of course after I started my podcast in 2016, which helped so much because I was in control. I did the editing. I could cut stuff out. I could hear myself speak. So I could notice, ooh, I'm saying these certain things a lot. So I just got practice. No video. I didn't do any video for like a year or something. And then I started doing Facebook Lives. And the first one, my hands were like shaking. And I had a sticky note of like bullet points to what to say because I was just so scared. But then the more and more I did it, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought. So I think it was in 2018. I just decided, you know what? I'm sick of the narrative. I'm scared to speak on stage. I'm just going to do it. And so I started taking action, boom, 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 boom. And then now I speak on stage. I've done it in multiple countries. And I choose to say, I'm not nervous. I'm excited, because the same feeling in your body can be described as excited or nervous.
I heard that. So it was a kid, I think on Ellen DeGeneres, that said that, and the world went nuts. That nerves and excitement are the same feeling. It's just however you look at it. And I was like,
so true.
That makes so much sense. But the other thing, you had said something. There's my ADHD brain. You had said something and I was like, yes, that's true.
Like Facebook Lives, podcasts, choosing
to
rewrite the narrative.
Yeah. I lost it, but you're good. That's
okay.
Exactly. I was following. I was there. Yeah. You had, that was it.
I mean, like 10 years ago, if you would have told me that's where I'll get to, I would have said, you are lying. I will bet $5 million that I will never speak on stage, because never would want to do that. Confidence begins with courage. Courage is very simple. Courage is an act. Courage doesn't take a lot of brain power. It's just doing of the things. If you want to build confidence, you make courageous choices. So you needed a confidence around public speaking. You had to take the courageous action to do the thing. Well, doing courageous things builds confidence in yourself because you're proving yourself right or wrong in certain situations. And when doing so, getting on the other side builds confidence. I say a lot of the times, Andy Grammer has this great song called I Wish You Pain. Yeah. And it's about, I hope things don't work out. I hope you fail. I hope you need somebody and they don't show up, because when your heart breaks, it grows. So when you do the things that scare you and you come out on the other side, you're building an internal dialogue of confidence. So when you hit rock bottom and you're no longer there, you know you can get through things. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. it reminds me of two things. One, there's, I think, a line from Shakira. I love her. She's in a song. She says, I'd rather feel pain than nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, to make similar sort of what you're saying. And I loved that line because it's like, yeah, like I would rather feel the human experience than just numb myself and never take a single risk and just like sit and veg and watch Netflix all day long.
Purpose comes with pain. Finding you'll be the same person if your life is perfect. You'll never have to challenge anything.
Mm-hmm.
You'll live in some little bubble and you'll be fine living your life. Pain. If you think of the most inspirational, motivational, life-changing people, Martin Luther King, just because we have Martin Luther King Day,
Mm-hmm.
his purpose came from pain.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times you need the pain to keep you going. And that's where your mind comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Is
I know, it's
strengthening
like all
that
back to your mind.
it all comes back to your mind.
The other thing I wonder if you talk about is like not taking yourself so seriously. Have we talked about that at all? Or like for me too, the second shift around this public speaking that helped me was I was so worried about what other people are going to think of me,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily in the audience, but the other speakers, because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm not as good as these other speakers. Are
Yeah.
they going to say, why is she on the stage? Like, this is ridiculous. And I finally shifted it to like, my job in speaking on the stage is not to impress the other speakers
Mm-hmm.
or to get their validation, but to actually help people in the audience. And
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
No,
I think it takes like, don't take yourself so seriously too. It's like, okay, calm down. You don't have to.
Actually, I haven't.
Instagram model.
So what's so funny is you say that. And I have like lists of notes and I brain dump all the time. I just lived that and I never even thought about it. And it came with, so when I take pictures or say I'm doing content for something and people are taking 100 pictures of me and they go, hey, do you want to look at it? And I say, no, I don't want to look at them right now because I'm going to pick myself apart and make you redo them. But that's the way I look.
Right.
When I'm filming Instagram, if you follow my Instagram, I will film my mess ups. You will see, and I don't delete and restart. You'll see my whole ADD brain process in my stories, and I'll lose my words and I'll drop things and I'll spill things and I'll cuss here. And that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's when you stop I have to be really protective of my energy. Mm-hmm. My brain only works a certain number of hours a day and it's doing a whole bunch of other things. I have to be very protective about where I am putting my energy into caring what people think does not benefit me.
Yeah.
And I think it's when I started being 100% myself on Instagram, actually, I got the best response. People wanted me to be myself. So
it's refreshing. Because everyone else is like, oh my gosh, here's my jet and my Lambo. And like, yeah.
That's not real life. And people can't relate to people who are successful because they don't feel like they're real. I feel like that a lot of the times, but especially when it comes to public speaking and what you were just saying, when I started the podcast, who am I? Mm-hmm. Who am I to say any of this? I have a story. And the fact that I have a story, the fact that I am a person qualifies me to tell my story. Mm-hmm. Because telling my story as myself will help at least one person. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all I care about. I don't care about the people who think I'm too much, the people who think I'm a lot, the people who think all the things I've been told my entire life. Then I'm not for you.
Yeah.
And I said this in my last podcast. Not everybody's cup of tea. And I don't want to be a cup of tea because I don't like tea. I would much rather be a shot of tequila. A really delicious punch in your face. That comes from confidence. Not caring what other people think, getting up on stage and not worrying about what other people are thinking comes from confidence in who you are. You're on stage to motivate people. That's what Laura has to say is not what Tony Robbins says. Laura's lived a whole different life, a whole different, unique. Nobody's lived the life you have lived, which qualifies you to get up on that stage and speak your truth.
Right.
If you're speaking, Gary Vee says this, if you're not speaking your truth, you will feel unqualified.
Mm-hmm.
You're qualified to speak your truth, but if you're pretending to be somebody else, no one will ever care. It's fake.
Yeah. If I went up there and tried to be Tony Robbins or Oprah or Gary, I would just look like I would feel horrible and it would not come out right because that's not me. So
everyone would be like, who is this?
Yeah.
Because they can't relate to you because you're trying to be somebody else. Well, that person's already that person. We'll leave that to them.
Mm-hmm.
That comes in finding then your strengths. Like I have weaknesses. I have tons of weaknesses, right? And John Maxwell says that you forget about your weaknesses. They're your weaknesses for a reason. You focus on your strengths and what makes you you and what makes you unique. So my brash personality, my ability to be loud, who I like to be in front of people. I've lived a unique story. What can I do with that then to serve my purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody can judge me for that. Nobody can judge me for the life I've lived.
Yeah.
And that's an untouchable power that you have. When you get up on stage, no one can judge you because they haven't lived your life. I'm sorry. That was welcome to my ADD brain. For those of you who don't know me, that's how my brain works.
Aside from copy tweaks, I think that this is great for everyone to hear and just be reminded of. Because we all slip into our little, these feelings are forever lulls,
Mm-hmm.
That's good to get a reminder.
Yes. I like what we've done here, though. This feels more like me. Thank you.
For sure. So I've got 9 things with some little examples underneath.
Perfect.
And maybe you can still work through these and rearrange or condense and stuff. Sometimes with more focused, quiet time, you can come up with other angles. But so the tagline's still feeling good. I inspire women to embrace and work through their mental shit to cultivate the life they deserve.
I think it's perfect because then it embodies everything that I want to talk about in one sentence. So
cool.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of this.
Anything else on your mind, copy wise, maybe that we can always do a round 2 when you're ready to do the LinkedIn bio or whatever?
Yeah, no. This is perfect to go because this is what I was missing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I was going I was directionless. I had an idea, but in my head, having a tagline like this, working this through is a confidence that I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is my tagline. This is my mission.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do to live out that mission? And I like that. That's perfect.
It's cool. And it's a conversation starter.
Yes. So when people ask me, now I know what to say.
Well, next time I see you at a coffee date, I'll be listening to.
Yes, exactly. Well, Laura said, okay. Perfect. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, for those of you who are listening on the podcast, thanks for joining us today. Make sure to check out the show notes, not only for the video version of this, if you want to see the visuals that we were looking at as we brainstormed and worked on Lauren's copy, but I'm also going to include link outs to connect with Lauren if you want to learn more about her show or about her. I can say that her website is thelaurenfritts.com, and Fritz is spelled Fritts. So that's her central hub for everything. And then, as she mentioned, her podcast is called That Mental Shit with Lauren Fritts. But I'll make sure to link everything up so it's easy to find. And the show notes will be at copythatpops.com/217, since this is episode 217. And if you like this kind of a format where we just talk it out and brainstorm on copy, then let me know. Send me an email to laura@copythatpops.com. I would love to hear your feedback if you want more episodes like this. And even if you've got something of copy you would like to work on, let me know as well. And maybe we can feature you in a future episode. But until next time, keep on finding ways to write copy that pops. Thanks so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find more at copythatpops.com, and I'm at Laptop Laura on all the socials.
Sometimes we find the greatest things in